All right, Chair Gussenberg,
Here.
Mr. Jinks,
Here.
Ms. O'Donnell,
Here.
and Mr. Pangaro, who's not yet
Not here.
joined us.
All right, if you would stand, can we have a flag? And
Oh, I don't have the flag. Hang on.
you don't have the flag?
I get it. I'll get it.
Marilyn, could you list me as a guest or
Oh, yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever I am?
An honored addition to our committee from the Board of Education. I can pretend there's a flag.
I open. Okay. I apologize. I was at the other meeting and I didn't have this ready to go. Here we go.
Okay, all right. If you would stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the
of the
United
United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
All right, well done. Minutes of January 6th, if I could have a motion to approve the minutes. Kate,
To approve?
a second?
Second.
Good. Any comments, changes? Nothing? All right.
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All righty. Okay, you should have all received a copy of the proposed survey. And Jerry and I haven't talked about it, but I'm assuming you want to go item by item through the survey, correct?
I do not see a copy of the survey in my email.
No, I don't have one either.
Can
Well,
you,
it was sent out several days ago.
Nope.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me see if I can get you the date.
The 6th, I think.
Okay, it was on Monday, January 11th, 9:53 a.m. Attached is the first draft of the survey. Please look it over, be prepared to revise it. And I know Ann got it because she responded to it.
I got it too. I thought it was the 6th, but that was too early.
oh, no, I see it. It's at the end of a long thread, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yep.
that's where I missed it. Okay,
Otherwise, I can send it again.
no, got it.
Marilyn, I don't know if you were on the list.
Yeah, well, it's great if I am because it enables me to follow what you're discussing while you're having a meeting.
Yeah, I'm sending it to you as we speak.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you should get it then. All righty. Okay, Jerry?
Okay, great. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
So thank you. The objective tonight, for us at least, is to get your input on the first draft. Page by page probably is the best way to approach this. And then once we're done with each page, we'll just move on to the next page. Just to back up a little bit, this is designed to be the phone survey. Once you approve it, we'll be converting this to an online version. Not a lot of change. Obviously, the same exact questions will be in there, but it will be worded a little different. For example, instead of saying, please tell me, it'll be please indicate, because they'll be on the computer and doing it themselves. So really, we can't change the questions themselves because they have to match, but there will be some wording, just some slight wording changes. Once we get that programmed, which should just take a day, we'll get that out so that, was it Jim, was it you that provided that list of contacts in town?
No, that was Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, that's right. Okay, so Brooke has that. and we'll work with Jeff then on dissemination. But it's a link that will be posted. It could be emailed out. It could be everywhere. So, and then also the some of the wording on some potential news releases. I noticed on your Facebook page, you've already let folks know that this is coming, which is awesome. So, any questions before we get started to get your input on the survey design?
Well, I like the format. As I read it, it seemed to flow very nicely. I had some individual
Sure.
questions as we went along, but I'll deal with those as we go.
Okay, all right. Well, don't let me go too fast. So we'll just start with the first page, just the short paragraph of introduction. This is our screener. We just want to make sure that we're talking to someone who's 18 years of age or older, and that they are indeed not a visiting aunt from Albuquerque. So we want to make sure that we're talking to a resident that lives in town.
I have a question about the initial paragraph.
Sure.
Do you have a sample of what it would be like in the electronic survey? Or is it just going to be similar, except for the first two sentences?
Right. It'll probably start with "We need your help," and it'll have a bit of a different paragraph. Certainly, they won't be randomly selected, for example. So, but you'll have an opportunity to see that too. If we have time, we might even have you set aside a day where you can go in and play with it yourself too, so that you can actually experience it. Okay.
Yeah. I was just thinking, there's really no specificity. They don't have any idea what you're going to ask them. It just says about Cheshire Public Schools. Should it be more specific to what our task is?
We could put a sentence or two in there. Sure.
To set the scene, you mean?
Yeah.
Right, because if I see a thing for Cheshire Public Schools, my kids are not in Cheshire Public Schools. Why would I do a survey?
Right. Okay. So let me just
I
add
just
a
wanna
couple
make sure-
sentences.
I just want to make sure we get target the
You
audience.
just say the town of Cheshire has created a school modernization committee. We're gathering data information
Yeah.
to help make decisions about what should happen with the schools in the future. Yeah,
Yeah,
something along those lines.
Yeah,
that's-
or even to say from residents who have students in the schools and ones who don't,
Mhm.
so they know that we do welcome their input.
Good idea. Okay. Anything else on page 1? All right. We talked a little bit last week about the introductory questions that are a little bit to break the ice, but a little bit to do some later cross tabulations. This is a standard quality of life question, followed by a standard of living. Talked about that rating question, both for town services and public schools. So any thoughts on these 4 questions?
Should we put in a parentheses examples of what some town services are?
I was about to say the same thing.
Which number are you looking at?
3.
3.
Oh, number 3. Okay.
We'll put "such as" in there.
Yeah.
Do you have some ideas on that? Policing?
Police,
I'd say
fire, trash
library,
services,
library,
Yeah.
parks, pool.
Fire, emergency services. Okay, we'll keep it fairly short, but yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, page 3, modernizing Cheshire Public Schools. You had suggested last week that we define modernization, so we took a crack at it. You're certainly welcome to adjust that as you wish. And then the follow-up to that those paragraphs are interest. We talked about trying to get on record the degree to which they're interested in the process and the degree to which they consider it to be important. both just to know, but also to be able to do some cross tabulations to see if those that are very interested are more inclined to support it. Those that think it's very important are more inclined to support it and such too. So it'll be great for cross tabulation of data.
Mhm. I have something actually, I'm sorry, to go back to questions 3 and 4.
Yep.
Whenever I do surveys, I try never to do 0, 1, 0, 2, because if you're dyslexic, 0, 1 and 1, 0, that can be very confusing.
Yeah, they're not going to see, the respondents aren't going to see this.
Well, the digital version.
And that even in the digital version, it won't be 0, 1. This is just for the
Okay.
programming folks.
Okay, they'll see the
Because
words.
Within SPSS, our statistical program, we have to use 0, 1. So that's just for us.
Okay,
The phone survey respondent won't see it. And then you'll see just 1, 2, 3 on the online version.
perfect.
But good question, because I totally agree.
And in the modernizing Cheshire Public Schools paragraph, there's a phrase that says building curriculum for the future. And curriculum is not, I would like to take that phrase out. I think updating learning spaces, we're doing that for the curriculum, but I would like to take that phrase out of it, building curriculum for the future.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That's not really what we're focused on.
I
We
was
are
also
focused on having
wondering-
spaces that will allow modern education. And I think updating learning spaces covers that.
I had the exact same reaction when I read that, so.
Okay, good. I think our goal was to point out this is more than just bricks and mortar. So that's why I think we threw that in there.
What about the advancing literacy piece? Does that belong there?
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Okay.
And instead of handicapped accessibility, can we use the term ADA compliance or
Yep.
American Disabilities Act compliance? I think that's a more modern phrase.
Yeah, see, I was going to question later on, they use ADA, and I don't know if people understand what ADA is.
I think we have to spell it out, at least the first time.
You know, I think if you talk about handicap accessibility, though, people do know what that means. American with Disability Act, or particularly ADA. So a lot of people may not have any idea what that is.
So maybe keep handicap accessibility in, but add ADA spelled out.
Well, if you do that, then later on, yeah, when you mention ADA, at least they'll know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Could somebody let me know what number we're on? Because I just got it open.
We're on the page 3 in the 2 paragraphs at the very top.
Thank you.
It's the word handicap. I think that's what's holding it up.
Well, you could just have accessibility.
Yeah, it's very like, you know, when IDEA was updated, they took that word out intentionally. So that's, I don't know, maybe I'm just being picky.
No, I think that's right. I think it isn't really kind of, the phrasing isn't quite in keeping with the times.
Yeah.
Do you want to just put accessibility? I don't know whether that's as clear, but
Well, I thought we were saying we would spell out the ADA ADA accessibility, or I guess however you want to say that, but I thought we had to spell out the ADA part.
well, then you're still using disability if you put down Americans with Disability Act. Either way, you're using.
Well, persons
Yeah.
with disabilities is the acceptable phrase, and handicapped is the word that's not acceptable. So I don't know.
Accessibility for persons with disabilities.
Yeah.
Or just say building accessibility. Well, yeah, I think I would like to put the disability piece there. It can be temporary or permanent. I mean, you know, somebody breaks a leg and they need to be able to get up and down a building. Doesn't have to be a permanent disability, but, you know, it is a key piece there. So,
So accessibility with persons with disability.
yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
You guys did a great job with that opening paragraph. It's just, it just needed a little bit of tweaking there.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
the sentence you have that says, this survey is an effort to collect important views among residents. Can you move that to the initial paragraph before the survey starts?
Sure.
Just seems like it would make more sense there.
On the same page or at the on page one?
On page 1, that initial paragraph.
Yeah. So we'll expand that initial paragraph as well as move that up there too. So.
Yeah, I mean, that much of what's at the top of page 3 could go at the very beginning. As an intro.
I actually think I may have to look it back over, but it might be better to have it closer to where you're actually starting the survey. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I didn't have a problem with the way that was.
I would leave
The
that in Gary's
organization.
hand. I mean, you know how to design these things. Do you catch them with a very short intro at the beginning and get them involved and
Yeah,
then give a little
I-
more detail? Or
Yeah, I think what you've offered already tonight is we'll expand just a little bit that first paragraph, but we don't want to jump around on them too much. So we want to get through those 4 quality of life type questions first,
Mhm.
and then introduce the fuller picture of what we're calling about.
yeah, get them involved. I did a survey just today for the Bushnell Theater, and it was one of those things where, you know, once I started it, I couldn't stop. So, you know, it went on for about 35 minutes. But you know, if you can get them hooked, then
Yeah.
you know they're apt to stay with it.
Yeah, good. All right, so page 4 is just one question.
I was just going to ask if there was anything else on page 3.
Oh,
We
sure.
didn't, questions 5 or question 6. Nothing? Okay.
All right, so question 7 on page 4 is simply based on all you know or have heard, what should the town consider in such a modernizing or modernization effort?
Yeah, I had a couple of things here. Under 01, it ends in and to educating, which seemed
Yeah.
unclear to me.
Yeah, and
Tools that are better designed for learning would be fine. Stop it right there. But the
Okay.
and to educating.
good.
seemed-
Or the common phrase, teaching and learning.
Yeah, that would be fine. Better designed for teaching and learning.
Good. And in the
Uh,
phone survey, remember, they're not going to see these. So online they will.
Yeah, that's actually a question that I had. So we want to just get the response from the people, not to lead them to these responses.
Correct. That's why some of this is in bold to help the researcher quickly find their response.
So for instance, under number 7, where it says ADA requirements, that wouldn't be something that we need to be concerned about. If somebody talks about handicap, if anyone, anything like that, your people would know that that's what that meant.
That's what they're getting at, and they would code that. And multiple responses. So someone could rattle off five responses to this question.
So it's just open-ended.
It is. It's an open-ended question.
But for the online, can we put something like ADA/handicap requirements or something like that so that people don't know what the acronym means?
Yes, we'll do the same. Good.
And then number 12, increasing special needs services/spaces. I don't know, just kind of throw it out to the group. If we talked about, you know, increasing services and spaces for special needs students, I just think that's a little bit clearer.
It's always good to put the person first for students with special needs rather
That
than
would be
special
fine.
needs students, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that would be fine. Students with special needs. I just don't like the special needs services. I want to focus on the kids.
Well, I think the services means like bringing in like a BCBA or an occupational therapist, or bringing programs that we have that we outsource kids, bringing them in-house, you know?
So if you said increasing services and spaces for students with special needs.
Yeah.
Good.
And the only other thing that came up a lot in the walkthroughs from staff specifically, I don't know if it belongs in here, but is like storage. That was
Ooh.
a huge issue for them. So I don't know if you want to include that as a possible something to code. Seemed to come up a lot.
It'll come
Wonder
up
if,
from
I wonder if
staff
it-
members. Yeah, I don't know if it'll come up from parents or
Yeah.
or
I wonder if
citizens.
the parents may also mention something about traffic patterns or wait times or
Yes. Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. We have huge traffic issues at a few schools.
To go from
Yeah.
class to class? Or
No, when you're for parents dropping off their kids
Oh.
and picking them up, we have, it's a common complaint in town. Various schools have pretty long lines usually.
The other thing is, newer schools will tend to separate out all the parent cars from the buses. Our older schools don't have that, so you have kids sometimes walking between buses to get into or out of the building.
yikes.
So there's a real safety issue there.
Okay.
And I don't know, did we have something about safety?
Yes, number 3.
Schools that are safe and secure, yeah.
I,
So,
I don't know. I think that's different. I think that's more like, security at the door and
Okay.
that. I think that traffic issue should be a separate, I think it's going to come up as a separate thing, and I wouldn't want to confuse the two issues.
yeah, I think you're right. So it's car and bus safety issues
And pedestrian.
and pedestrian, yeah.
Good, good. All right, so that's 3 additions. We do want this list to be comprehensive so that if someone mentions it, it's there. And then you saw the other 2. If someone mentions something that's not on the list, we'll capture that as well.
How about number 9, improve air quality? I don't know, should the word ventilation or something be in there?
Sure.
Even if it's a slash?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's great.
I think that'll come up quite often right now because of, what's going on in the schools at the moment.
For under athletic fields and programs, like athletic fields are fine for the upper schools, but should we put something about playgrounds, like another slash for the elementary schools? Because that could be an issue for some of the younger families. I think it would belong under the same bullet, the same number, 16.
Do you want that, or do you want it to have its own code?
I think it's the same thing depending on your age. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Like if you have a kid in elementary school, you're worried about the playground, and if you have a kid in high school, you're worried about the fields, but it's still the grounds.
Okay.
So what's the program part of that then?
Athletic programs, is that what that means?
Yeah, that's athletic fields and programs, I would assume.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be football, baseball, any one of the programs that are
Like more sports being offered.
more sports, yeah. You want those separated out, maybe?
Well, I don't know if we in my mind, we either need to separate out the athletic fields and playgrounds from the programs, or athletic fields and programs, and then have playgrounds.
Yeah, it
Playgrounds
doesn't,
and indoor
it
spaces.
doesn't hurt to separate these out. It'll just help define it better.
And I don't know if the word more there is necessarily necessary, is necessarily necessary. Um,
Yeah.
Little redundancy in my redundant comments. But I mean, a lot of people, for instance, I know the people at Dodd didn't necessarily talk about more athletic fields. They talked about the quality of the athletic fields. Um, so it's really having higher quality, playgrounds and athletic fields more than just the number.
So like it may be improved instead of more.
Yeah.
So you don't want to say improved about sports programs, right? You want
Increased.
increased. Okay. Good. Good.
So I don't know if this is nitpicking, but we have energy efficiency and we have air quality, but we don't exactly have sort of temperature control. We don't have like, HVAC systems or something like that in here.
Air
So
conditioning.
improved HVAC maybe?
Yeah, well, so most of our schools don't have air conditioning at all, and that's something that people talk about as wanting to have in their schools. It may come up. That's kind of somewhat separate from energy efficiency and air quality. It's
I think,
a
would you
little
use
different.
HVAC or would you specifically say air
think-
conditioning?
Just I would say air conditioning or air, I don't know, temperature control or something. Probably just air conditioning.
Yeah, because it also goes the opposite way. When we visited the schools, we heard from a lot of staff people about rooms that were
Too cold.
extremely hot and they couldn't control the temperatures, things like that.
Yeah, climate control is an issue.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be
Climate,
the
that's the
correct
phrase I was trying to think of, Jeff. Climate control. Yeah.
improved climate control.
And you could put a / air conditioning or, heating and air conditioning.
Okay. All right. So if we're good, we'll move to page 5, which is awareness and knowledge. To get these in here, we went through some of the materials you sent us. We're just testing awareness on all of these, 8 through 15.
Yeah, number 11, I wasn't happy with the word rundown.
We pulled that from one of your PowerPoint slide decks. So
Hopefully it wasn't one that I put, but
we're happy to change that. But that's where that came from.
You got to keep it real.
well, the rundown also gives the message that we haven't been, doing the basic maintenance, which I don't think is true. I think if you walk in the schools, they generally look pretty good. They are outdated, that's for sure.
So maybe just start with outdated.
I would be fine with that. Outdated Cheshire schools make it difficult to allow access to or install newer technology without the word rundown there.
I would just like to add that this was this section, one of the sections of the survey that I really liked, because this is so informative about getting this information out and seeing and having people realize that, no, I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah,
I think we're going to
educate
find, but in identifying that they're not aware of these things, they're being informed. So
Yeah.
And did you guys do a survey like this last time? Or
no, we did not.
No. Okay.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
We didn't.
I feel like maybe the public isn't quite ready to answer these questions yet, but maybe maybe they're more ready than I think.
Well, I think that will tell us something too. If they come back over and over again saying, I'm not aware of these things, it tells us what we need to do between now and November if we're going to want to get something passed. It would be nice if you could do this multiple times, we'll do this survey again,
Right.
in October or something and see if people at that point have a better awareness.
Jeff, is there a possibility of you helping with the wording and maybe adding something about the increased amount of special education programs that have been pulled in-house or changes to your population of special ed students rather than just the enrollment, but specific to special education?
Yeah, I mean, there are two things that are impacting the space in the facilities. One is the transition to full day K. The other is incorporating specialized, incorporating more specialized programming that would have been previously outplaced. That would have been, so we, and maybe you guys can help me with how to, tailor this for the survey. But basically, we were in the practice of when we had students that had significant, substantial needs beyond what we would typically offer, we would outplace them. That comes at great cost. And really, we felt like, well, we could do it better, which is obviously great for our kids, and cheaper, which is great for our community, but it required us to utilize space in the building that wasn't previously there, or that wasn't previously being utilized for this purpose.
Can you say it as simply as that? The school system has saved money but utilized space by bringing special needs students that were outplaced back to the school system?
By keeping formerly outplaced students in their home schools.
Mhm.
Okay, so Jeff, we'll take a crack at an additional question here, and then you can see it and see if it's okay.
And Jerry, did you get the full day kindergarten one also?
What was the kindergarten one?
Well, we went from.
That's part of why we're having space issues, is that previously students only attended kindergarten for half a day. So you would have, early, middle of the day release, you needed half the classroom spaces that you need to provide full day kindergarten. So that, in effect, doubled the need of our kindergarten space
Classroom,
requirements.
So do you remember what year that was done, Jeff?
It was before I was superintendent. So I'm going to say 2013, 14, maybe 14, 15, perhaps.
I think it was 14, 15.
I'll text Vinny and find out.
In that spreadsheet you sent me, Jeff, with the enrollment numbers, it was
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I
mentioned in the Malone and McBroom also, because they talked about how the enrollments changed at that point. But the point is, Jerry, that, that's taking a fair amount of space. So when we come back saying we need more kindergarten space, some people are going to look and say, well, you used to have more kids in the elementary schools. But if you say, well, yeah, but we've used a bunch of classrooms for full day kindergarten, we've used some classrooms for special needs, that's why we need more space at the elementary level.
Gotcha.
Just a little picky thing. In the first sentence, can you just take out the phrase "that require attention" and just leave it, "the following are several issues that have been identified by the Cheshire School Modernization Committee"?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll ask your help though, because that's not actionable if we take that out. We want them to know that these are things you have to do or want to do something about. So maybe we can take that out, but maybe somehow let them know these are things that are not only issues, but things that you have to do something about.
Number 14, at the very bottom, it says which may result in overcrowding. Can we change that to will?
Okay.
I mean, if we do get 15% more enrollment growth, we will have a problem.
Okay.
And then number 10, can we, where it says operational costs are increasing, I think we need to be a little stronger there in terms of, we're trying to inform the public that we are on an annual basis spending a lot of money from our capital budget on upgrading schools with windows, and people need to understand that the reason for this process, part of the reason for this process is that we're not continuing to just kind of expand that phrase a little bit.
Is it the same thing or is it a different issue, Jim? I mean, well, on the one hand, yeah, our operational costs increase because, we have new programs, we have teacher salaries, we have things like that. And we also have very old buildings that we're putting a lot of money into trying to maintain.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it is kind of it's an additional question, isn't it?
So maybe, yeah, adding another one that's related to older buildings require more maintenance, upkeep, costs.
I mean, we're literally putting millions of dollars a year into upgrade, trying to maintain these old buildings with capital improvements.
Yeah, and as our facilities age, the need for those dollars increases. That's what we want them to understand.
And we're not even keeping up with it. We're just barely trying to plug the holes.
Yeah. All right, so we'll add that one too.
Yeah, we don't want to make it too long for you, but
No, that's why we're doing this tonight, and you still have space for a few more questions anyways.
okay.
All right, so that's 3 new ones that you'll see there, and an adjustment to 11 and 14. Anything else on that page?
The rewording of 15 to match how we've changed and taken out the word handicap.
Sure.
That's just going to be on everywhere it's mentioned.
Got it. All right, page 6. On the statements, these are 6 different statements where the respondent can agree or choose to disagree. We'll start there before we go to 22.
Just a real picky thing. In 18, you use the word is, and 19, you use the word are. I don't personally know which one is correct, but I thought that they should be the same in both, but need an English teacher to look at it.
It's supposed to be are.
It's is.
No, modernized public schools are. Should be
No.
modernized public schools are, right?
Well, okay, it depends what you mean. The concept of modernized public schools is important to maintaining property values.
Right.
It's the concept.
I just think we need to be consistent. That's all. I looked at it both ways,
My wife's a teacher, so I'll hit her up too.
Yeah, my wife's an English teacher, but I don't want to grab.
Oh,
It won't stop. She'll be analyzing the entire thing.
Any thoughts? 16 through 21.
I thought these were well worded. They were simple and focused.
Okay. All right, now we start getting into the purpose of the survey, support and opposition. So we introduce, so you have to just tell us if we got this right. We looked and saw that we believe you started out with 16 different directions. You're down to two top ones. So let me have any input you have on question 22.
Well, I think it's still TBD. These might not be those two options in 1 and 2 by the time you start the survey.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a meeting on the 20th, is it? Next Tuesday or whatever. And then I was thinking this committee could possibly meet the next day. We didn't have 16 different things initially that focused on just phase 1, and we're only looking at phase 1 here when we look at 0, 1, 0, 2, whatever. We had 16 different scenarios when we looked at all the possibilities for doing everything.
Right.
You know, I think
Yeah,
we'll
we
have
use it
to,
for scenarios instead of directions too.
Scenarios.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think we have to, take a look at this. Um, right now, I mean, we have in front of us the new K-6 elementary school in phase one, a new 6-8 middle school in phase one. Um, and I don't know whether that, well, I guess that still does have the Chapman in there.
And then we have a new 7-8 middle school is still in the
A new
mix.
7-8 middle school,
And then a Reno of all phased out,
right.
still in the mix. But yeah, we can just specify those for you better, Jerry, after our meeting on the 20th.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jen sent out a note the other day saying that as Colliers, our consultant, is working on these, some of them are not, working out as they had anticipated. And so some may have to be dropped out altogether. So I think this one is still, a moving target for us.
Okay.
And I think by if I was going to propose that we meet the day after next time, and by then hopefully we'll have a little clearer idea.
Does it occur to anyone that reading off more than two of these pretty complicated descriptions of the projects is really going to be hard to do over the phone?
Well, I was thinking that maybe we don't put all this detail in here, that we talk about, the committee has looked at all of the schools, and for the first phase of one of the scenarios, here's what we're looking at. So you would only have the new K8, K6 elementary school. You'd only have the new 6-8. You wouldn't have all the other pieces to it, which I think could be very complicated.
It was just a thought that I had.
Jim, do you have a thought there?
Now that Ann mentions it, I do agree that it's going to, I think since we're going to be going to the public with this survey in February before anyone really knows what the different options are, it could be difficult for them to answer this question, but I'm not sure what we can do about that. I mean, maybe we'll have a better sense of it once we know what our kind of final two options are. But I agree that, I mean, the public
Yeah,
isn't
and
going to
if-
be quite
and if
ready
they're-
to answer that question.
And if we don't have any more than this, maybe we can go with this, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's why we put in there, we are
Right.
on these two, which is manageable. We put in there, the researcher will tell them that we can read these two scenarios a second time. And then, of course, online, they can easily read it several times. But we'll wait. We're, according to the timeline, we were hoping to get an approval from you to program on the 21st, which is the day after that meeting on the 20th. So not sure how that will play out.
But think committee also about whether you want to focus on the entire scenario or just the first phase.
I think
Because that-
doing the phase one, I agree. And I think if you just reword the question to say the following are two different options for phase one of modernizing Cheshire schools, make a statement that all schools will be, I don't even know the right word. Something will be done to all of the schools throughout the multi-year phases, but which of these scenarios would you like to see happen first?
Good.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
that will be something we look at on the next page when we get there too. And that we really didn't want to focus on the total cost of the entire project. We wanted to focus on what will phase one cost us. Let's get to referendum. Let's get that passed. And then we can come back with phase two. One of the issues that came up last time around is that the total dollar figure hit the newspapers and they never got beyond that. It was
Yeah.
just, a dollar shock, and that was it.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm thinking, and the other issue that's come up by several people that I've heard recently is the whole concept of renovating the high school and whether that should be farther up in the options, whether we should be renovating or building a new high school. And you'll get all that mixed in here if, if we're not careful. So I think if we might have to put something in there as to why these are the two options. And the reason is that the state has said if we have an enrollment issue at the elementary level, we must address that first. So that meant right from the beginning that the high school couldn't be in phase one. And I think that, somewhere we probably have to note that. Based on that, here are the two options or three options that we're looking at for the very first phase that would possibly come up for referendum in November.
So it sounds like your consensus so far, and if it's okay with you, when you see draft 2 next, we'll just reword this for the first phase, the K through 6, and then the 6 through 8. Then.
I think that's cleaner. I think if we try to get people to support the whole package all at once, you're going to have a tough time.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll just do that. All right.
We should be able to confirm that on the 20th. Maybe Rich, maybe you can just email Jerry that night and confirm that that's what the option should read for
Sure.
phase 1.
Yep. And then if we're going to meet the next day, we will, you can plug that in and we can get a clean copy out to everyone. But you can also just make that assumption for now, and we'll see what, it's possible that the 7-8 middle school continues on and we have three options. I don't know what's going to come up in terms of the renovation option. They're having difficulty, I think, in finding space. You have to add to the buildings to accommodate the enrollment issue. So they're looking at that, I know.
I would,
As many as 4, 3, or even 2 by the time we get back to you.
Okay.
I would add, though, that I agree with Kate when she said to make sure that the subsequent school, all the schools will eventually be later on in the plan. But that we're just talking about phase 1.
Yeah. So in the intro, we should probably say,
Yeah.
all schools will be dealt with in 3 or I guess it's 4 phases, 3 or 4 phases. In phase 1, which potentially could be coming up to referendum in November, here are the whatever 2 or 3 options, and then get some input on that.
Good. Good. All right. So page 7 are the dollar questions, and again, just a reminder, it's tiered. So we start with the higher of 3 different options. If they're a supporter, which would be definitely support or probably support, they're not asked the next 2 lowest dollar amounts because we've already captured them. But if they say no to 250, we ask 200. If they say no to 200, we ask 150 in taxes per year. But we put in the 250, 200, 150 as place savers. You'll have to tell us what they are and if indeed it is over 20 years or how many years.
And I don't know that we're going to know that until the very end of the month. The meeting that we have next week, I think, is going to clarify what the options are. Then it's got to go to our finance director. And I think he's trying to come back to us either on a meeting on the 26th or the first week of February with the dollar amounts.
I think we'll know by the end of the month, Rich.
You think so?
Yeah.
So that's what the 26th. You're on that subcommittee, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Jim's on
Yeah.
every.
I think it seems we'll know by the end of the month. So
Jim, this is Carolyn. You guys have a council meeting on the 26th right now.
yeah. No, we weren't saying that we had a meeting on the 26th. I mean, a committee meeting on the 26th. We were just saying we might know by the end of the month.
I think, didn't we get an email from Arnett today asking us if we can meet on the 26th?
27th, 27th, I think.
Oh, 27th it was?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
So that affects,
Jerry-
that affects the timeline then that we sent out to you. So
Or
you're-
Jerry, is it possible to make these questions more general, to just get their financial tolerance without saying this is what it's going to cost? Is there a way to word it?
you can say yes if you are to accomplish either either of those two scenarios. Would you be willing to pay a certain dollar amount? You can ballpark the dollar amounts if you want, just to see what their tolerance, as you said, is.
I haven't the slightest idea what the dollar figures are going to be. I
Okay.
don't know. Jim, has there been any discussion at all about what the impact would be to an
No,
average?
Jim Jascott's got to, he was getting all the scenarios from Colliers, and then he needed to, run cash flow projections and, so on and so forth. So, no, we don't really have, the committee does not have any idea yet what the thresholds are going to be.
Yeah. So what we'd want to do, I mean, first of all, I think in the very first paragraph, it talks about overall costs. We don't want to get in there to that. We only
Okay.
want to talk about the cost to the phase one, which would be going to referendum in November. So they've already learned that there's a whole scenario there with all the schools, but here's the first phase, and it's going to be one of these 2 or 3 things. So now we want to say, based on that, it looks like it's going to cost X amount of money. And here's the impact that it would have on an average taxpayer.
So what happens if we have 3 scenarios with pretty varied costs associated to them?
We'll have to go back to the drawing board on these questions.
Because when you start taking things out of the whole plan, the comprehensive plan, I would argue that if you're getting a feel for what people are willing to stomach today without really telling them that, well, if you spend less today on the third version because it's cheaper, then it just means that you're deferring more costs to later years when we get to the other parts of the. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm not a numbers person at all, but.
I think it's true. I just think that it gets very complicated. And if you say to them, scenario 1, yeah, you can go for the less expensive renovations rather than build a new middle school, but then look what the cost will be 20 years down the line when you have to replace more schools. I don't know how you do all that within a survey.
So maybe
I don't either, but part of that was the reason why my initial reaction to this whole page was, can we just do 23 and not 24 and 25? It's going to cost a certain amount of money. Are people, would people go for it?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Or maybe as a drop down with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 being different amounts. Or one.
Well, I think if you let people see that, what's good about this is you ask them, are you in favor of the 250? If that turns out to be the amount, if they say yes, then that's it. You move on. If you give them a drop down, I can assure you that a whole lot of people just go the least amount.
Yeah, maybe the best thing to do is that then when you do narrow down the scenarios, whether it's these 2 or these 2 plus 1, then you just take the highest dollar amount among those 2 or 3 and go for it.
Hey
That's
guys,
what
I gotta drop off.
That was my.
I gotta drop off. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, bye.
I don't mean to dictate that it has to be that way. that is what my thinking is going on, and I think we need to maybe get more input from people from the whole committee, but that's what I'm.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue too is it's very hard. You know, you got people in this town who live in houses that are worth 150,000, and you've got people in this town that are worth $1.5 million. So that dollar figure on taxes varies tremendously depending on the value of their home.
You know what we do in that? What we do is we can have this for the online survey too, but researchers will often be given the talking point on the average household in Cheshire is worth this dollar amount. So that if you say that to them, then they think, oh, this is based on a $500,000 home, but my home is worth 750. So my share of this is going to be a little higher than $250 a year.
Yeah, I think you have to have something like that in there so
Yeah.
that it puts it in context.
Yeah. We can say it's based on the average home market value of blank, or assessment rather.
So Jerry, if it turns out we can't really get you the information for this page until after the meeting on the, whatever that was, 27th, is that
Yeah,
going to be a real issue in terms of our timeline?
It will be, because we've booked you now for fielding in the phone bank. So we'll have to take that off, and I'll work with you maybe even offline on trying to determine when we should book it.
Yeah, these things just keep changing. You know, they've told
Yeah.
us, you know, here's the plan, and then we've gotten several emails over the last couple of days
Yeah.
in terms of some timing and the difficulty that the finance director was running into with all the various scenarios and their pieces.
Right. No, understood completely. We'll just have to work with you on when you do think you'll have a, because we can't start anything until we have a final approval on the survey.
Yeah, and I know Jen couldn't be with us tonight, but I know she also was really hoping that we could get this data in by the beginning of March, because
Right.
that's when we need to go back to the town council. So we don't want that date to slip.
Yeah, we've built in some flexibility, but we'll have to work with you on that.
Okay. Well, do the best we can. And if worse comes to worse, we might just have to fudge this page a little bit and make it a little more general rather than based on specific amounts that I mean, I think we know the total cost of the first phases of each of the scenarios. We have a sense of what the state reimbursement will be. I don't think it would be a big amount of, you know, a lot of work to just say, based on the average household out there, how much is it going to cost just to cover that? And if
Right.
we just had that one piece without anything else, we might be able to get that information for you quicker. So I'll explore that a little bit.
Good. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So page 8, that open-ended question is just for your efforts to try to move people over to support, or even stronger support. It's just to discover what they would like to see or hear in order to become a stronger supporter of the effort.
This will be in a drop down for the online.
This correct. They'll not a drop down. It'll be an actual question. So they'll just type in their response to this.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So question 27, communication. We talked about this last week. Where do they usually get information?
Well, that's what I was talking about with the drop down. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. So that's open-ended for the phone survey respondents, and then the online folks will actually see this and then click each one that applies to them.
Can you add 2 more?
Yeah, of course.
The Cheshire School Modernization Committee website, even though it's in the town website, it's separate, and the Cheshire School Modernization Committee Twitter page.
Good. Any others to add? And then they'll just type in other, if there are others.
What is front porch? I don't know that at all.
Do you have that in Cheshire? That's the local neighborhood thing?
I just got a letter in the mail 2 days ago from a neighbor informing me that that I could become a part of it. And I remembered that you had mentioned it before, Jerry, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does exist. Okay. I've never heard of it.
I
Does
joined it because I got a letter from somebody and there was absolutely nothing in Cheshire. It was all Hamden stuff. So I don't think it's actively used in Cheshire, but it's similar community forum. People could still respond to
Doesn't
that.
hurt to leave it, but
There are others. So if you find out there's a more common one or commonly known one, just let me know. All right, social media, 28. This will just give you in your communication capacity, just some awareness on what people are using. That list keeps growing.
Yeah, I just had Parlor number 909 is supposed to be PARLER, I
Oh,
believe.
that's right, you're right.
And it was just shut down, but I don't know if that's temporary or permanent.
Yeah, they're looking for housing for their apps. So,
Yeah, it's just a complete bastardization of the French spelling of the verb parlay. Even
And Google Plus was shut down.
even
in
the
20
pirates know that it's parlay.
what was that on Google Plus?
It was shut down in 2019. So
Oh, Google Plus was?
yeah, for personal accounts. Yeah,
Oh, so delete it. Okay,
please.
okay.
and are we leaving Parlor on there?
Yeah, people still
I
have
think we
it.
can. Yeah,
So,
Parlay from Ann.
parlay. Well, that's not what they call it,
Parlez-vous français?
but it bugs me.
all right. So page 10, you had asked that we try to just find out their interaction. So we've already changed the word used in that first sentence to interacted with Cheshire Public School facilities or property over the years. And then collect the reasons why they visited these schools. Did we get all the schools in there correctly?
Is this the one where North? No, it's.
No,
there's another-
this
there's another
list
one
is
where
right.
North is incorrect. This one's right.
And how about the reasons? We tried to think of all the possible reasons, including voting.
No, looks good to me.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a good comprehensive list. And
The
it's
only
not too
thing-
long and it's general enough to include everything.
Well, and I like the fact that that's there because you may have some seniors who say, well, I don't have kids in the school, but then maybe they do go to theater productions and they go to football games and whatever.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing's adult education is the only one I don't see on there.
oh, that's
Ah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, this is fascinating for us because we oftentimes see the more they attend or use, the bigger supporters they are. So, and that's, I think, why I asked you last week about any tours that you've had to get people into the schools. All right, we can always add to this if there's nothing else.
I was thinking like if I was a grandparent and I was trying to say how I interacted, what I was looking for on the list was some kind of like family event, family activity. And am I not seeing it or?
Do you have it? Do you have?
I don't know about like student events. You know, the
Oh,
biggest
student
day that we have where people visit is Veterans Day, and I guess I kind of considered that a student event. You know, volunteering may be another one.
Yeah.
Can we turn student events to family events?
Or add it, right?
Add it as,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say add it if you're gonna do anything.
Okay, so we've got 3 additions there. Great. All right, you'll see this again in case something else comes to mind. All right, and then we're already into demographics. I'll run through this page here.
Can I back up and add
Oh,
one more thing?
of course.
Sorry, for question 30. You know, we've used Cheshire High School as like an emergency center.
Ah,
Should we add that as an additional item as well?
do you ever use it as a shelter too?
Mhm.
Shelter?
Yes.
Have we had times when people have actually gone there for it?
Yeah,
Rich.
Like when
isn't
the
it?
electricity went out,
right.
things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we have.
Great, great.
Sorry.
No, awesome. All right, so also fascinating for us is to see the differences between people who have lived there 10 years or more, less than 10 years, newcomers, 2 years. So this is a great question to have for crosstabs. We collect age. We talked last week about their relationship child-wise. So that question we hope is comprehensive. And then, and how likely they might be to vote in a,
That says second referendum. Why is it second?
yeah, I don't, second referendum. In a referendum.
Yeah. And more importantly, why is there a comma after second?
Yeah, but it'll read,
Spoken as a professor. You get a D minus.
If your punctuation starts confusing people.
you're a tough crowd. Yeah, we'll get rid of second. Yeah. So please tell me if you think the question 33 list is comprehensive, and any other thoughts on this page. Are you okay with those age categories?
Yeah,
Yeah.
can you just, I don't know how it would read, but can you just take off the word have? No children, children not yet of school age, you know what I mean? Just to
Sure,
clean it up.
sure.
Yeah, because you have in the question.
Okay. Sometimes we have, I'm just scanning for this, but sometimes we say no children, but plan to have children as another category if you want.
That's kind of personal, isn't it?
And when are you planning on that?
Yeah, we're not asking about that night, just in general.
Can you afford in vitro uterization? There's got to be a line drawn somewhere.
I'm with you, Ann.
All right, so anything else?
Are we still, what number are we on now?
Just that page, 31 through 34.
Okay.
Anything you want. All right, hearing none, we'll go to page 12, which deals with income levels. 36 is the school zone voting district and capturing whether they own or manage a business located within the town.
Voting district with 3704 should say District 4 : Norton School.
Norton, not North. Yeah, Norton.
Norton, Norton, school.
Oh, instead of north.
Yeah, it's not North School, Jim. It's
Oh,
Norton School.
And
Got it.
number 36 is not a question, so it needs a period.
Okay.
And then 37, I don't think you need to put 05. You don't need to put Jim, just Doolittle School.
Okay.
And on the high school, you have a colon, and on the rest, you have a comma. Can you just make them consistent?
High school.
Oh, yeah.
High school.
That's all one.
And then avenue is abbreviated on number 5, but not on 6 or 7. Can you make that consistent?
Got it.
Did you talk about if you're taking the gym out of Doolittle, it should come out of number 4
Yeah.
with Norton School as well?
Right. Not North School Gym.
Okay. And then on the phone, gender is by observation. If you're comfortable with this, we could do this. Other surveys have 7 categories of gender. We can do that, whatever you want.
How about the gender or give them the choice not to indicate gender?
Well, this is by observation, though.
Right. But on the online version, we can have the 7 category drop down.
What are the 7? As I said, I did one for Bushnell today. They had a third. I forgot exactly what the term was, but
Yeah, I'll
No, but
get-
there are, I mean, I'm all for going with the 7. I'm wondering why we wouldn't have that on the phone call one too.
we can ask the question instead of by observation, we could ask them for their gender. It is the last question, so if people get upset, then
They've already
they
taken,
could just hang up on you when we've already got the information.
or you could just say, if you don't mind offering your gender,
okay.
or something polite like that, that allows them to say, I prefer not to answer, or whatever.
Okay. We'll plug it in and you can have a look at it.
But I'd still be curious what the 7 are, so I just don't know.
Yeah, I'll shoot that over to you. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
Oh, it's like non-binary.
Right.
I think that's
Or-
what the Bushnell had. They had male, female, and non-binary, or something like that.
Oh, but there are more. Yeah.
That's all Bushnell offered, were those 3.
Yeah.
Transgender, gender.
Yeah, there's
fluid.
transgender.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to insult anybody. I just want to get information.
All right. Any other thoughts, folks? Anything you want to go back to?
I think it looks good. I think we had a couple of places where we need to get you some more information.
Okay.
As I said, I was wondering if we're meeting next Wednesday as a full committee, if this group could meet next Thursday, if that's available for everyone.
I'm guessing we have a budget meeting.
Yeah, next Thursday we have a board meeting actually, but
I mean, we can work around the time like we did today and do it earlier.
Yeah, I can do a 5 o'clock next on the 21st.
yeah, I'm gonna be unavailable on that day, or the 21st.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at the 28th for some reason.
And Richard, I will either ask that I connect with you. I have something on the 21st in the evening. I will either connect with you and just go through the group's thoughts, or I'll have Brooke, who you met last week, jump on.
Okay, I will shoot you an email on the 20th after our committee meets.
Right.
Just to say, here's where we are in terms of the phases and scenarios. So that piece we can incorporate.
And I can talk to you all during the day Thursday. It's just that night I can't.
On the online one, Jerry, can you add maybe the Cheshire I like that you use the red, but can you put the Cheshire Schools logo on it?
Oh, sure. We're actually gonna do more than that. We're gonna ask you for PMS colors, all that stuff. So, yes. So it'll look like your graphics.
Jerry, do we have yet, and maybe this comes later, an estimation of how long this survey is
Yeah.
likely to take somebody?
Yes, 40 questions equates to about 10 minutes. So just a rule of thumb is 5 minutes equals 20 questions, roughly.
So we've added some things in today. If we get to the point where you think this is too long, you'll let us know that, right?
Yeah, you were at 38. I think you added 2 or 3, right? So,
Yeah, and my hope is that we're going to actually shorten that one section too. We'll see.
right. No, I think you're great. You started out this conversation tonight about length of surveys, and people really do forget, especially if they're engaged and into the topic, they really forget about how much time they're on the phone with us.
Yeah. All right, so if on the next Wednesday, the 20th, the full committee can, clean up where we're going and we know what the first couple of, options are, then hopefully we can get some pricing quickly. Maybe we can put this to bed on the 22nd and be ready to go. So we'll see, it's not all in our hands, but
Right.
I think, the meeting on the 22nd for us should be a pretty quick one. If we've already gone page by page through this, so it's just a matter of cleaning up, what we have here, maybe some second thoughts on some pieces, and then that financial piece.
Yeah, Rich, are you going to reach out to Jen and Chuck and see if Jim can give us any sort of financial thing for, at least for the survey?
Yeah, I'll talk. Well, Jim is on the subcommittee, the finance subcommittee. So he's probably the best one to work with. And what we need to do is to know just if this is phase one, build a new K through 6 elementary school of this size, or build a 6 through 8 middle school at this size. We already know how much that's going to cost the town. And we have an estimate already from Colliers in terms of what we think the reimbursement would be. It's just a matter of saying to Jim Jeska, what impact is this going to have on the average taxpayer?
Mhm.
So I'm thinking that should be a pretty quick, easy piece for us to get. So yeah, well, I'll try to work that out so that before next week we have those figures.
And I will get this draft 2 to you tomorrow.
Great. All right, and then we're meeting 5 o'clock on January 21st. And hopefully that'll be no more than an hour meeting. Okay, anything else?
Can I move to adjourn?
Okay, motion to adjourn. Oh, Jim left. Jeff's not here. I'll second it. Otherwise, we can never leave. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone. Talk to you all
Night,
next.
everybody.
Thank
All right.
you.
Joe?